We are live with Dawn Weatherwax on RePS, ReGRETS, and ReCOVERY. I'm Scott Weaver, and today we're just going to talk a little bit about nutrition and a couple different things that Dawn here does for us in terms of fixing our nutrition for performance, right? Maybe
You got
you can
it.
expand on a little bit better of an explanation than what
What
I
is
gave.
that? Yeah. So basically, our goal is to fix, those misfueling things that could be limiting our goals, our performance, the outcomes. All of us have a performance. All of us have an outcome that we would like out of how we're taking care of ourselves.
Yeah, and so when people think of performance, sometimes they think of this in terms of, athletes and things like that. But anybody who works out, you're a level of athlete, right? So a lot of gyms, they'll focus on younger crowds or specifically sports athletes. There's other gyms that will focus more on people who are 40 plus, just the average person. They want to lose weight. They want to get past the aches and pains and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So specifically to that group is what we like to talk about here,
Sure.
the 40 plus type group that's looking to just get to those basic goals and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
They'll tend to have low energy and things like that when they first start working out, and sometimes it gets worse as they work out because they've got this increase in activity, and
Right.
the diet doesn't necessarily change with that all the time, or if they do, sometimes it's not in the best way, and they'll reduce how much they eat,
Mm-hmm.
that type of thing. So
Yeah, just kind of like what you mentioned is they're not fixing the misfueling that goes with that change in the activity or their lifestyle. Also, just when they came to see you, was there other things going on before, right? You mentioned low energy. So what is that? There's many factors
Sure.
that could be.
Yeah, sleep, it can be caused from sleep, it could be the causing factor, it can be a lot of different things. I think in most people though, it's the dieting piece of it. They think they're eating better, I get a lot, like, oh, I eat salads. It's like, okay, well,
Yeah.
what's in a salad? Well, there's chicken. Okay, well, let's take out the chicken
Yeah.
for a second. What is it in the salad that's actually giving you any type of nutrient, fuel, stuff like that? Usually we kind of go back and forth a little bit, and we realize that there's not that much fiber in, there's fiber, but not that much.
Yeah.
And they're lacking a key ingredient in that salad, which is carbohydrates for fuel.
Yes.
Which is our
We have to have
specific
fuel.
topic.
Yes.
So when somebody comes in, they start to do the workout, we typically get them past the soreness stage before we'll
Okay.
get them into kind of changing their nutrition and things
Okay.
like that. And we're not nutritionists, so I can't write somebody out a diet plan, do things like that, but I can teach them things, I can steer them in the right direction, give them ideas, that type of thing. So for that next step, though, once we get past the soreness stage, we kind of ratchet up everything, and then we want to get into nutrition, and that's where I think somebody like you could come in and really help them out with fueling properly for their workout. If they're, whatever their goal is, right, because could be different.
Right.
A lot of times it's losing weight. Specifically, that gets hard with clients who are dealing with menopause, or post-menopause, because the body changes in those instances, right?
It definitely, it just compounds,
Yeah.
right? How you go into a scenario and then you go into around that menopause phase, it just seems to turn on other things that can accelerate it. So one of the things is just building muscle, right? It doesn't, just because you go in it, they used to think that it would decrease muscle, but I feel that there's just, the hormones are shifting. And so probably maybe you've heard this from a female, because, I never used to store, if I gained weight, right, or gained fat, I would put it in my hips, or I'd put it in my glutes. I would say maximus minimus medius, that's the whole shebang, you guys.
That's the butt areas, the butt muscles.
The whole bottom, the whole shebang. And all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, now I have this, I'm starting to put it like a muffin top. And so that estrogen signal is now, the hormone shifting is now telling you to put it on more like a guy. Like, because most guys put on most of their stored fat between neck and waist.
Yes.
And females, when you hear a pear and you hear an apple, most guys are an apple. Women, we're all over the place. You could have a lady that has a flat stomach and she could have a lot of glutes and hips. You could have somebody, they're more like an apple shape and they're straight legged. So female can go all sorts of directions, and that is a common thing that changes when that goes on. And then you have the hormone shifts with even cortisol and adrenaline. I just feel like it just compacts on what you mentioned. If somebody comes in a situation that they don't feel the greatest, and now this is shifting. And I feel like everything just layers on another.
Yeah.
So at times probably like, I don't feel well because I'm a mom or I'm a dad, but dads don't go through menopause. But you know, like I have kids, I have work, that's why I'm tired. But a lot of times there's other things underneath that. That's why it's kind of hidden and you're not really recognizing that that's the problem. So when you actually hit menopause or perimenopause, it just kind of keeps creating that scenario that's worse.
Yeah, it kind of compounds. Yeah, the
Great
chemicals in the body are changing, right? And they change
Yes.
for men too, just not in necessarily a known period that we call a certain thing.
Right.
They lose testosterone over time.
Yeah, and women can lose testosterone.
Yes,
yeah,
they have testosterone
yeah.
too, right?
And I always
And
think
men have-
testosterone wrong. So
And
you're
men
gonna
have
hear somebody
estrogen.
And yes, it's just how much.
Yeah.
Because guys, you know, usually want around 600 to 800 on a, you know, general basis. Women, that you're not gonna be at 600 to 800. That is not gonna happen.
In terms of testosterone.
Yeah, for the blood work.
Yeah.
But that could go low too, and that could also be part of the problem. So there's many factors to why somebody might come to see you and how they feel, and then what things can we do around that to help them.
And a big piece of that is food. Food is our fuel to get us to do certain things, have the energy.
Yeah.
I even think in both of those, food and the chemicals in our body, that's going to change the way you I don't want to say act, but your attitude and things like that can change, right?
It's huge. Your brain-gut connection really is true. When people say it's a second brain, you're going, really? Is it really a second brain? Can I think with it? But you can test
It's
your.
kind of like the brain in the background, like just like your muscles.
but
They remember what you're doing.
There is a lot that goes there, and it really is a second brain. And if your gut health is not well, it will affect your brain. There are people out there that have way more connections. So there are tests out there that you can do that test your poop.
Yeah.
And it's not pre-menopause people, but when the 2026 Olympics came around, I had 3 athletes that I were working with that were trying to make it to the Olympics for the Olympic trial. So happy to say one made it, and then the other 2, one was a male and one was a female. The female, she had been to the Olympics before, but she was late 20s for going in the Olympics, and we did the poop test, and it really does help guide that journey about probiotics or things that you might be missing. But one of the athletes specifically, I knew them for years, and I asked if they were depressed, because I go, what their numbers came back out at was said, you are brain, gut are hugely connected. So if the gut's not doing well, your brain won't do well.
Interesting. I've never thought of it in terms of, depression. Some people have like seasonal depression, but your diet can change in the seasons too. But
Yeah.
I've never thought of it in terms of that. But it makes sense that.
And then if you think of somebody who's depressed or anxious or anything that ties, I've even had females where they talk to you and they make you anxious. Like you feel like you have anxiety after you get done talking.
Dealing with the
to
public, right?
Right.
and
you're just like, okay, I think I need to be I need anxiety, because they're always projecting what's happening in the future. So if they go, well, what do we do now? What do we do this? They're always like, what are we going to eat for dinner for next week or for the holidays? That's 3 months down the road. So
I see that a lot.
That affects your gut too.
People that I know, women
Mm-hmm.
that I know, and men too. But I don't think that way. Like, I don't think,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
my wife will call me and be like, hey, what are we having for dinner? And it's like, I haven't even eaten lunch yet. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't care. But through doing this, you know, throughout my life, you know, I've realized that a lot of other people, sometimes it's called food noise, or sometimes they're just worried and anxious about that next meal for whatever reason.
And that affects your gut.
Yeah.
And so some people really do struggle with gut health, but it's also because it's tied together. So it is very fascinating that when you have people come see you or see me, that is not so clear cut of, well, just eat an apple or an orange. There are many factors in this journey for each person in their own family. You know, it's one of the few that you could have 3 kids and from the same 2 parents, and they're all different. Like, one stocky, one like straight up and down. One might be allergic to peanuts, there's nobody else that have those issues. And so now you're dealing with not just yourself, but everybody else in the household. That's different. And I'm sure most people can relate that most of us don't have the exact same taste buds, even though we have the same family tree.
That can cause some worry or anxiety or whatever you want to call it. It can cause that in terms of when we try to work with people on changing their diet and things like, well, my kids aren't going to eat that, or well, my husband's not going to eat that. So now I got to cook 2 different meals or whatever. And so it causes some of that anxiety or worry.
Yeah.
How am I going to make this work, or what am I going to do? And through my own experience of having, you know, changing my diet where the rest of the family doesn't want to do that or eat what I'm eating, or they call me crazy, or why are you doing this, or who does that, right?
Yeah.
You know, and it causes some doubt, so there's a psychological piece to it, and I understand that. But it is a little bit difficult to do that, so it's got to be in easy ways and things like that. And it's good for them, I think, for you to show them that path, right? So there can be some positives out of it.
I think, you know, something I've called is like fix the fuel gap, one gap at a time, one goal at a time, 1 week at a time. And that fuel gap, you could do that with your own family, with your kids, depending on your situation of your household. Or maybe sometimes you have a 2 household, and so sometimes kids float in and out. And so that just makes the dynamics, it makes the rhythm, you know, I always we call it habits, but I like to say, what is your rhythm? What is your, when school starts again, that's a new rhythm. You know, everybody's in different phases in their life, and so then it takes a week or 2 to finally get into that rhythm.
Yeah.
Right? Like a certain time, and what are we going to do for breakfast, or are you going to do school lunch, or are you going to pack, what's happening, and then your whole weeks evolve around that, but everybody's at different stages. The goal is find what maybe the issues are, just even when you're working with them, and you go, well, what are some of the gaps that you might be able to close this week? And another thing you could do is, like, it's kind of bizarre, but if you say if and then, so if you say, well, if I'm going to eat breakfast this morning, that's eggs, avocado, and fruit, then I will do that between 6 and 9 a.m. If you want to connect it to something, like connect it to a time point. If you were working with your kids and you go, they don't like to eat breakfast, you might go, if we eat breakfast 2 out of 5 times this week, then we will, do it before they exit the car. Something, and if we don't do that, then we'll just let the week go and work on, maybe you had another goal that you're like, okay, this is what we got left and this is what we're going to do. But you never beat yourself up because you're trying to change a rhythm that you're not doing. And it involves other people, but also you changing that. So it's like, another scenario too is, let's say there's construction and it reroutes you. And I don't know if you've ever had this, like you're on autopilot. Sometimes if this has happened, you drive and then you're going down the same route and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to go around the detour, I have to
Not
back
in Cincinnati, that never happens.
It never
Our
happens.
roads are perfect.
Isn't it?
Snow and salt did never create potholes or always get everywhere on time.
Yeah, we're just there. But you find that it takes, a week or 2, if that construction is still there, that you get into another rhythm that you automatically know what to do because of that scenario has changed. And then when they change it back, you almost have to kind of remind yourself how to get back to doing that. It's the same thing with anything we do with exercise, to show up here, with our lives. and how it makes you feel, and you tie it to what is the overall goal. Because I would say in general, outside of athletics and performance, it's you feel better.
Yeah.
Your goal is you come and try to do something because you don't feel good.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Yeah, and that makes complete sense. Your rhythm, as you call it, is going to change throughout the year, and that's the benefit of having somebody in your corner to help you through this journey. You have a personal trainer, you have a nutritionist or dietitian that helps you change those rhythms throughout. Like, how do I tackle this? Okay, well, now their kids are back out of school. How do I change this? Or, you know, jobs even have seasons to them. You know, and both parents can have different jobs. We have different seasons and all that kind of stuff.
Right. And it all makes a difference on where you're at. And sometimes you get thrown a curveball and you're not expecting it. And so that happens with so many people. They're on the right path, and then something happens and you're not expecting it, and you have a tendency to go back to that rhythm, right? So, or the rhythm that was before, that's just something you fall back on. Therefore, you even might have a plan for that. When you're coming in and working out, you might go, okay, if this happens, then if I can get going back in 3 days, or if this happens, I could call somebody, then I can call somebody to help me just kind of talk it through. So within 7 days, I can get back into my new rhythm, back into it again.
You have to figure out a way to keep thinking ahead. And so you rely on people who have done it before. Vacation is one of those things. Like, okay, I know that this could be a possible point where I'm going to fail.
Yeah.
How do I deal with it? Not only just the gym, but how am I going to deal with for nutrition, right?
Yes.
You typically eat out a little bit more.
Yep.
And I'm not going to say that you have to stick to a strict diet during vacation or a strict workout plan.
Yeah.
But doing something is better than nothing.
Right.
Completely falling off of your habit that you've created.
Right.
Of good nutrition.
And think about a vacation, because the old me, because it would be a binge fest, like, because you're always you always feel like you're on a diet, you know, like I'm always, you're always trying to get leaner.
I'm going to take a break from work and my diet and my exercise. I'm
and
taking a break from all of it.
And it's like a smorgasbord, and you just let it go. Versus, you know what? I don't really feel good if I do that, and it's okay if I have things more than I don't usually have. But if you then listen to hunger and fullness, because those foods have a tendency to be more calorically dense, you're not going to be as hungry if you truly listen to that. So you might be the person where we're telling you, hey, you should eat more times a day. But if you really had a lunch or a brunch or something that was way larger than you normally eat, if you truly listen, the body is going to say, I really am not going to be hungry for a while. And you might just have something light, and it will balance itself out. Maybe it has no rhyme or reason that it's as healthy as you'd like it to be, but it's more of the fact of what you do in that moment. Because it's more, if somebody says, well, I ate that, so therefore I might as well just start Monday, or I might as well just, I'm like, no, that's where you get off track. Not because you ate that meal, it's how you go, okay, this is my meal, how can I balance the rest of my day to work out this? For instance, I prefer to eat my bigger meal at night because I'm home, or I like to enjoy that. I can just go like plain and simple, but when I come home for dinner,
you want something elaborate.
I just want it to taste better.
Yeah. You have time to cook it,
right?
Prepare it.
And sometimes as the day ends, the stress goes down, so you have a little bit more time to kind of like listen to like, I'm hungry. But my time would probably be more that. But let's just say you asked me and said, Dawn, let's go somewhere that's not on our major list that is like healthy, but like Cane's. Like I always joke, like
meal.
Yes, I go, what's healthy at Cane's? Water. I mean, coleslaw is probably the easiest. I don't know, like if you're going to Cane's, you might as well just. A funny story, we're so off track with my son. Everybody's like, go to Cane's, our first thing. My son was very young, and I'm thinking, I'll get some grilled chicken, and I pull up, and I have me grilled chicken. No. Yeah, I'm like, okay, I buy choices. Texas toast, fried chicken, and coleslaw. I'm like, okay, I just drank water. I literally did, because this is like, I did not want that.
They're not in the health business. business. They're in the business
No.
to get you to eat their food and get you to
Right.
eat more of it. So
Right, because it has
they're gonna
things in
make
itself.
it so that it like hits your taste buds
Yes.
with a pow, and you're like,
Right.
whoa, this is freaking bonkers. It's so good.
The endorphins
Right? So,
go on.
yeah. I mean, even if they did have grilled chicken, they'd find a way to
Well,
put something on it to make it.
Of course.
So where do you like it?
The sauce. You gotta have
The
something.
sauce, the butter they cook
Right?
it in, the deep. Sometimes they deep fried, even though it says it's grilled. They'll deep fry the chicken.
There's
Just doesn't have the breading on it.
There's a lot of tricks, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of tricks.
A lot of things they try to get to fool our brain, and that's why we have issues too. So the bottom line is that if say I did that, and then I go, you know what? So dinner, I'm just gonna have a salad, but not just plain lettuce, you know, but balance it out and make it wholesome, but make it light. And if you just, instead of going, I have just ate Cane's, that I just failed everything I did and I'm not gonna have progress, I'm going, that's not how math works in this
No.
scenario. It's what you compound on top of that. And if you can just understand that, because so many people think they have to be perfect, and I'm like, you don't have to be perfect unless something about your body says that food is not working
If
for
somebody
you.
can show me a perfect person, I'd love to see it. Right?
Well, I don't care.
And
I
whatever, and in any industry or any type of thing, working out or diet or anything like
Yeah.
that, we're all gonna fail. Like,
Yeah.
and that's okay. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean you just turn it off and be like,
And who
"Oh,
doesn't
well."
like some ice cream sometime? I mean,
Mine's chocolate.
Is yours
my
chocolate?
My cheat is chocolate. Most people,
they know you.
my members and my staff and family, they know it's chocolate. I lose my mind.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Around that.
Yeah.
Right.
So it gets better, but
Yeah, but you like it, and this is what I would tell you. I'd say, you know what? Figure out how to fit it in, because that's something you really enjoy. So for me to tell you to take it out, go, hey, that doesn't fit, I go, that's the wrong thing for me to do, because I just have to know that, okay, things that we need, what causes inflammation, you know, if we kept to 5 simple, I might be wrong on this, I say 5 and it might be 4, so folks, please forgive me on that. That's what happens when you get older. But if you kind of keep to these simple rules where added sugar, not fruit, because a lot of people like fruit stuff, and I'm like, I don't have very many people over the weekend that said, Dawn, I ate 6 bananas. I just don't know what happened, and I'm sitting there like, well, that's only 600 calories if we're lucky.
I ate a whole bushel of apples. Yeah,
Yeah.
nobody says that. I went crazy and I ate the whole thing of blueberries.
Right? And you
like
go,
Peter Griffin when he goes on the mattress and they're at the mattress store.
yeah.
And he puts a CPAP machine on and starts eating blueberries and it's getting all over. Nobody really does that, right?
Right, yeah.
It's
It's-
usually blueberry ice cream.
Thank
that
you.
they
It
make
usually
that
comes
with.
with a fat. If you tie it, guys have a tendency to go, I go like this, you know, like canes and burgers and wings, and
Yeah.
ladies tend
Beer.
to go beer, and ladies tend to go towards more carbs and fat, like the drinks and the bread. It's just our hormones. That's the hormone speaking, because you have way more testosterone, and I probably said the word wrong. Why do you crave those foods? Is because they have more iron and zinc and B12 in
Oh,
them.
interesting.
Mm-hmm. And so if you watch little kids, and you always go, they could eat 4 ounces of meat at
So
age
is
3.
it safe to say when you have quote unquote cravings
Mhm.
that is, I won't say necessarily a deficiency, but you are eating not enough of a certain type of iron or magnesium or some sort of.
I think
guess
it
could be something
definitely
like
could be that.
Yeah.
Because if you just look at that scenario, why do guys crave meat more, like steak? It's literally because that is a protein that has high, B12, iron, and zinc. That promotes muscle building, and you just have more lean weight. On average, your testosterone is way higher. Like a female, if they're at 150, 200, that's great. For a guy, that's like death. You would be like, done, I'm so tired, and you could be more depressed. I mean,
Yeah.
guys don't realize it. That's where things like, oh, I feel this way, and we put guys in a place where, no, their levels could have gone high, and it could change in a year. So sometimes they could really drop low, and that's why you hear a lot about that hormone. But females, it can drop too, as well. And it does affect many things, and I will share with you, because you do body comp, I do body comp. it is miraculous if it's lower and it goes down, that I've seen people's body composition shift, not their food. Their food didn't change, but their body composition shifted. So if it goes down, they will lose muscle and gain fat, but they could weigh the same.
Yeah.
But if they get, so that's where menopause comes in too, because where you don't look at testosterone, we're looking at other things, but it's like, well, that could have been low too, and now it's, you're building on top of that, where I told you, how are they coming in, and now it's getting more exposed.
Yeah.
And you have to hit that, because you're getting more tired. The average person can lose up to 2 pounds of lean weight a year after age 30 if they don't do something to maintain it.
Correct.
So also think of the timing of menopause, and you think of, well, how much lean weight have you lost if you haven't been doing any type of resistance training up until that point, right?
Right.
Because some people who probably see you, maybe it's the first time they've ever lifted, maybe
Sometimes, yeah.
they used
Or it's
to.
just been an extremely long time, so it's
Right?
like starting all over again, and almost like they never have,
Right?
Because it's been 20, 30 years.
And think when menopause hits is a lot of times, it's when your kids are not 5. So once they get into high school, or maybe they're off, that now you have more time for yourself, but that time allows you to think and have more, like, there's less stress to override all these issues that have been going on, and now you can put time back into it. And whatever you have when you were young, this is where if you have kids and you're like, how can I help their lives, is bone density is decided by age 25 or 30. So females and males build their bone density up until age 25 to 30 years old. So even though females might be done growing by age 18, even though there have been some females I've known, athletes that grew like their freshman year in college, which is outrageous to even think about, but I've seen it happen. And I've had females grow their senior year a couple inches just because they weren't eating enough to get to that height, even though they were still eating enough, if that makes sense. So example, if they were eating 25 and they needed 3,000 calories, if they were to just take that extra 500, they would have like grew, but they just didn't have enough to grow, because you can stall your growth. And sometimes the growth plates will close before you get all your height, and sometimes the bone will just shut off. It says, I don't care. It doesn't mean it's all filled in.
Right.
It just says I'm done. So our bone density is decided in youth and not later. What we're trying to do later is prevent it from losing more. Menopause does have a tendency to accelerate that because of the estrogen. So that's where lifting is huge for that. That's where if you go into it strong, maintaining the muscle mass you have, then it's going to be way less of an effect of that happening to you. And you can reverse bone loss. That is one you can. So if you come in here and work out, you really can impact your bone and muscle density. The other is, if you have this type of muscle, so when people come in, if I try to backtrack, if you do body composition, is if they say you're here, I go, well, where do you think you weighed? And if you showed a picture, where do you think your body composition might have been? I can backtrack to you and go, okay, I think you had this, let's say 150 pounds of lean weight, but you were measuring at 140. What do I mean, folks, about that? It's just that lean weight is everything but fat. So if you had a propensity to lose up to 2 pounds of lean weight a year, and now you've lost 10 pounds of lean weight, you can always get that back, unless there's some type of medical thing that says no. That's beautiful, because now if they fuel right and they start stimulating it, it will come back. It's the question to me has always been, can you gain more above that? But I don't usually know what people used to be.
Right.
Could they really at age 50 gain more than what they had when they were around 30, 35, right? Because you could still gain muscle, but like if you're truly 50 or 60, could you truly gain more muscle? So in menopause, you gotta get the muscle back, because that's your metabolism.
Yeah, absolutely.
You like carbs, girlfriends? I love my carbs. I'm a carby. The fire in the muscles is that's where you store carbs, liver and muscles. Liver's only so big, so you might as well check that out the window, because you're not going to go through all the carbs from your liver. It's your muscles, so the more muscle you have, the more carbs you can store. And you want to store carbs and burn fat. And I need you to hear that. Store carbs and burn fat.
Yeah.
Doesn't that sound great?
Yes.
Store
No, absolutely,
carbs,
yeah.
not carbs are bad. carbs are your gas, and if it goes too low in the
Well,
muscles,
I think in the
then
industry, there's a lot of that, because there's different, diets out there that are low
Oh.
carb diets, and it's like, that's the way you do it.
Do it.
And of course, there are two different types of carbohydrates. You have complex carbs and simple carbs, and
there is a lot.
you can kind of go down the rabbit hole there too. But
Right.
I think in generally speaking, carbs aren't necessarily bad. They're your fuel.
Right.
You just have to control how much you eat. Just like
Exactly.
anything else.
Yes.
Ice cream or whatever, you have to control how much you eat.
Mm-hmm.
And with strength training, you have to actually do strength training. You can't come in and lift the same 10-pound weight every time.
Right.
You're not truly going to build anything. And I think that kind of gets in people's brains sometimes, like,
Mhm.
oh, well, I'm lifting now, so
Yeah.
I can, if I just keep eating the same way, I
Right.
should just lose weight. Or
Right.
just because they're lifting some weights, you actually have to challenge the muscle and tear it down and
Yep.
to build it.
You
which
gotta
means
fatigue it.
You gotta fatigue it.
Right.
You have to go to some sort of failure.
And then if you don't fuel with his workouts, then what happens is if the carbs are low, then it signals to the brain that you're in survival mode. So if you go on one of these journeys where I'm gonna really eat well, but maybe not enough, and it goes too long. So think of carbs as your gas, and this is why it's different for many people. If you do some just general things, is we're driving to Florida or wherever long distance, the protein's like the air in the tires, and the healthy fats are like your oil pan, and the carbs are your gas. And fruits are your gas, because that's a carb. Starchy vegetables like peas, potatoes, corn, and beans, not green beans, but that's a carb because it's starchy and it has the same amount of carbs in one serving as a serving of bread. So I always joke with people, but I go, okay, if we're really driving to Florida versus we're walking to the neighbors, and literally, it can take 30 seconds to go to the neighbors. It's not gonna take much gas to walk over to the neighbors. That's carbs. So carbs are gas. So the more you move, that's the other benefit of moving your body, shaking it all around, move, is you will go through more carbs. Now, how fast are you going to go to Florida? Oh my goodness, this is my phone and an alarm system, and I don't even know where I put my phone. Oh, it's there. Oh, watch, it's on the side. Oh my God. Okay, anyways, it's So Me. If you don't know me, this is So Me. But are you going to go 50 miles per hour, or are you going to go 80 miles per hour to go to Florida?
Walking
right?
versus jogging versus running.
HIIT
right?
training.
You're gonna burn different levels
Yes,
of calories
and so then you
carbs.
will go through more gas.
Yeah.
So that's why it's different for people. If you walk, that's great, but how fast you're walking makes a difference on how much carbs you go through. And that's why carbs are variant. Protein kind of stays the same, but carbs and fat are variant. And so that's why people need less carbs, because if you have less muscle and then you're not moving as much, you're just not going to go through that much gas. It's kind of like parking your car in the garage. But if you decide you're going to move around more physically, then you will need more carbs. And that's why there's a difference with the cardio feature and even building muscle. I'd love to say all that, oh, muscle builds, you get to burn so many calories. I go, ladies, if you could do that and eat what you wanted, have fun with that.
Yeah.
But it does create a better base burn, but it's not going to be that much bigger. It's the fact that you just have strong bones and you can live on your own terms.
That's why we tell people too, you're supposed to do strength training or some sort of strenuous training about 3 to 4 times a week.
Yeah.
But that shouldn't be your only activity.
No.
Right? You should get out and, go for long walks with the
Right.
dog. Go play pickleball. Go do
Move.
stuff. Move more so that you can enjoy some of those carbs and enjoy your life.
Right?
If you just think, I'm just going to strength train 2 times a week and then, I'll go for a walk on my 3rd time, that's just not enough activity. If you're especially if you're sedentary for work and you're sedentary when you get home, and
You just
on
sit
the
all
weekends
day.
you don't really do much. We sit down sometimes and drink wine or go to the bar or whatever you're doing. You gotta move. You gotta move those muscles in order to burn some of that fuel.
Exactly. You got to burn it. You got to get the nutrition where it needs to go. You got to get the circulation going to get where things need to go, so you recover better, fuel it better, and so you'll burn more fat and store carbs. So healthy fats like to burn, so the carbs can get into the muscle. So that's why a balance, almost Mediterranean, is usually best for most people. It's just we don't live by the ocean, so we don't have to necessarily eat fish. Just go with lean meats, and lean meats are like lower on the saturated fat. So going back to that, my long-windedness of, you know, like the 4 or 5 things is added sugars to 30 grams or less a day, not including around activity. So if you did, like, these are my athletes, if we did chocolate milk post-recovery within that 30-minute window or an hour window, because women are way more susceptible to timing than men, and also that's because of we have less testosterone.
Yeah, so what she's saying there is you're basically fuel loading after your workout because you're depleted. In those cases, in an athletic case, you're depleted of a lot of your sugars and carbs.
Yeah.
So drinking chocolate milk is going to instantly replace that.
Yep, with the
So
protein and the carbs.
Not everyone may want to do it in specifically that way.
Right.
I think Floyd Mayweather, the boxer,
Yeah.
he drinks Coke after his workouts.
It makes sense.
But his workouts are, obviously he's super duper, skinny and lean.
Oh,
and
well,
so he's probably not eating much in the way of some of the sugars and super amounts of carbohydrates anyway. So he needs that fuel back immediately because he's depleted, where a lot of people, they may not be completely depleted at the end of
right,
the workout.
and to be depleted, you would have to be totally out like a Iron Man. But the biggest thing is if you do like something sugary, I will share with you that is the best time to put it in, because the body wants to, your body's nice and hot and it wants to suck it back in. If you let it cool down and you ate the same exact thing, like if he did it like 2 hours later and drank that soda, it's not gonna work the same way.
Correct.
His body is way more tuned, but other people, it's gonna kind of like, I always say it's like a neighbor you want at your front door versus a solicitor that you would never let in. So it's your besties with protein and carbs post because they work better together. So chocolate milk, but it also could be a yogurt and a piece of fruit.
Yeah.
It doesn't,
And
right?
I say that, I brought that up. We don't train people like that in any of my gyms, but
Yeah.
I bring that up because there's a lot of stuff on TikTok.
Oh.
And there's a lot of stuff on social media in general, Instagram, Facebook, all those different ones. And it's like, well, that person did it, so that's what I'm going to just mimic the same thing. Tom Brady does this, muscle thing to be more limber, so that's the way to go.
Yes.
Not necessarily. They're doing
Yeah.
it specifically for what they're doing, and so having people in your team that can tell you what to do specifically for what you're doing is going to help you in your journey to get to where you want to be.
Right.
Because if you just start mimicking all these other people who are in super shape, they're already, their path is different. My goals are different than a lot of the people that I train. I don't have them do my type of workouts.
Right.
I don't, work out just biceps all day, for an hour, right? It's going to be completely different. I'm not going to have them lift super heavy until their eyeballs want to pop out of their head. I'm going to train them much, much differently because the goals are different. So nutrition's going to be different. When you eat and what you eat is going to be different.
Right.
So it's very specific to what your goals are and where you're at in your life with age and body and all those type of things. And there's ways to identify that from your perspective.
Right. It's like how you would train somebody when they first come in. You don't just treat them all the same. You see where they're at, what the goals are. So like we mentioned, everybody even in your household is different. Even though the genes, we're all different on how we even handle certain foods, stresses, and that all impacts our life and our health. And it is different, and that's why it's hard when, I will just say this, if someone says this is the only way to do this, or you must give up something, like it's a must, unless I'm like you're eating dirt or something, I mean like something that's just like, okay, that's common sense, I won't eat dirt, even though there is something called pica that people have eaten dirt. They crave it. I'm like, yeah, not me.
There's a show out there where people have weird fetishes.
Yes.
Like one lady was drinking gasoline and like
you thought
eating cotton and just weird shit like that.
Yeah, you're right. I'm like, but most of us aren't like that. But the issue is, then I say step away from them because they found out what was good for them and they don't know any better or the science behind why they might actually have a wheat or a gluten or a yeast sensitivity. Or do they have actually a sensitivity to whey or case? Like when people say just blanket give things up, I go, well, that's a hard one for me to swallow when a lot of people like don't do peanuts. I'm like, there's people out there, a lot are fine with eating peanuts. It's the tree nuts that could be causing you problems. It's really complex. So I just warn people when you're listening, just stay away from the ones that say this must be done or else. Then I go, that's what's for them.
Yeah.
It can't be that blanket.
So I bring all that up and kind of getting into a pathway, just the same way that when someone comes into our gym, we do what's called a starting point session, which is essentially we just, like you said, we're figuring out where they're at and kind of what their issues are, what we have to work with. You know, do we have to correct form? You know, do they have tight hips? They have a bad knee, injuries, all that kind of stuff. Where are we starting with this in terms of, you know, physically moving and exercising? You have a way of determining where somebody's at with their nutrition, and you have like a system, right?
Yeah.
And so we don't have enough time to jump into all of that.
Right.
And we're coming up on the 1
I
o'clock
know,
mark.
I can talk too much is the problem.
That's okay, we can do another one.
We always
this is part
see
one.
what the
And you know,
people want. Dawn, a thumbs up, or Dawn's a oh, see, a thumbs up. I put my thumbs down. If he's not a thumbs up, like so.
Did you eat right before you came
I
here?
tried.
So again, we can do part 2 and part 3 because there's a lot of information in this that I think is good for people, and a lot of the stuff we didn't get to get to, which is fine.
It's so neat.
You and I could probably do this for 3 hours.
Oh,
think,
yeah.
Especially on this subject. But there's a system that you have when somebody comes in to figure out where they're at in terms of eating, what's going to help them. You kind of have to figure that out. There's different things that you do. We can bring some of those up, but one of the things that you did with me was put me in the bod pod.
Yeah. So, very brief. We do things like metabolism testing, just to know what you're burning. Believe it or not, the majority of science on all your resting metabolic estimations were done on men. There's not that many done on women or even young. So just knowing where that is, knowing instead of estimating, why, just to get to your goals quicker, faster. Do we see issues? The bod pod is like in body, but it's air. It's really accurate, but you guys, anybody who's going down this journey, most people are like, I don't want to know my body composition, but you know what? Most people, you want to stand upright, you want to live in your own house, you want to dictate your future, you know, you don't want people to tell you what to do, and so many people focus on fat and weight, and I'm the person is like, you've got to look at the lean weight first, because that guides me to help you where to go. So if you came back here, and some women, oh my goodness, see, this is our time frame, they, or men, don't have enough lean weight. And then I would say, oh, you really want to focus on that? And also, right, if you lose fat and gain muscle at the same time, and you're using the scale as your only means, it's not going to give you a true, accurate account of what's happening, because sometimes you can get frustrated if you only use weight as the guideline. But I've also had females who have a lot of lean weight, and I'm like, holy cow, this is beautiful. But then I would say come back to you and do more cardio based, because you have so much lean weight, you don't need to focus, you just have to maintain it, and then if you're limited on time, then you know how to tailor it.
That's actually the goal for a lot of our clients, is get them to a maintenance type stage.
Right?
Obviously, you know, none of them are there.
Right.
But yes,
it just guides what you should focus on and how, if it's working. And then, you know, we have a thing called muscle sound, measures the carbs in the muscle, because you can have things that interfere that you don't even know, that if you're not absorbing, then you're going to be in that survival mode and you don't even know it. So that means it's harder for you to burn fat. So
and so these are different ways that you kind of find out where you're at and stuff like that. Those body compositions, even though they may not be necessarily super duper important to the client, they are to us, because they help us tell you what to do.
Yeah.
And so that's why you have a team to help you do what you need to be doing and stuff like that. Even if you just came and did it and you don't even look at the information, you let us have the information.
Wonderful.
Then we can help.
Yeah, if you're somebody who doesn't want to see it, you just put it in an envelope. But how does it help you, and how does it help us? Our goal is, we don't want to just cross our fingers or throw spaghetti noodles at the wall, right? And then we pray that this works. We're like, okay, that's not,
It's
2026.
It's not the 1700s.
Yeah.
There's actually a system to this.
Yeah,
where
some science behind
everybody
it.
started throwing stuff against the wall,
right?
And we figured out what's stuck, right? So
yes.
we have a system and a science behind it.
And we both know kind of some things that we need to veer, and you're not wasting time, and you're getting to the goals that you were paying for, and then if things aren't right or working right, then you peel the layers of the onions back to see what is inhibiting you from that success, if there are medical things that are in the way that you didn't even know existed.
Yeah, Absolutely excellent way to put it. So, Dawn Weatherwax with New to Go.
Sports Nutrition to Go. He's
Sports
almost.
Nutrition to Go. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
You can reach her at 513-287-9623. I hope to have her on again for a part 2 session so we can dive in more of what the bod pod is, the muscle carb storage thing, all the stuff that you did with me, and I mean
there's layers, labs,
there's so many different
there's
things that we can go over and talk about to help people out and get them in the right direction, but I think that gives them a basis. So we'll probably have Dawn back for that. We'll also have Dawn in for maybe a workshop or something like that for the members and things
people,
like that.
You just tell us what you want and we will make it work.
So we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Is there any last thoughts that you want to throw out there?
Nope, I just want you to be kind to yourself. You know, when you're setting these goals, it's not always easy because you have to change habits or change a rhythm, and just try to fix 1 or 2 fuel gaps a week, and then just regroup and go at it again.
Yeah, don't look at it as a big mountain. It's little hills, little progression hills that we get to until we build up to the top. But
You got it.
The fountain of youth is definitely in the gym and in your food.
I love it. Yes, it is.
All right, you guys have a great day. Thanks for listening.